Welcome to a special episode of Storyboard. This is all about JWT Global and JWT India. We're going to be talking to Matt Eastwood, Global CCO of JWT Worldwide, and Senthil Kumar, CCO of JWT for India and South Asia. Welcome back to India.
Thank you.
So tell me, since last we met, what are the new challenges for a global CCO?
Look, I think it's still about creative consistency and building that up across the network, and that's the thing I still drive for is making sure that we're doing our best creative work across all of our offices. But I think the role of a CCO is definitely evolving as well, and it becomes as much about connecting our agencies with culture and building those relationships, particularly around things like tech. It's actually becomes about me brokering relationships with partners that we can work with, and helping deliver those relationships locally.
So were you at CES?
I wasn't at CES. I was planning on going to CES, and then my sister said to me, "I'm coming to visit you in New York." So unfortunately I couldn't go, but I spent a lot of time reviewing what was happening. Look, I think it was really interesting. It's funny, I did an interview sort of towards the middle of last year where somebody said, "What do you think of the two trends coming out that'll be significant in the industry?" And for me, it was virtual reality and artificial intelligence. And I think CES definitely reflected that, AI is taking huge leaps and bounds forward. I mean, it was CES this year, as you know, it was the year of Amazon Echo, and everything was integrated with Echo. And I think we're just beginning to see that. So I think, that's new ground for us, and something that we have to find ways to incorporate in quite quickly and do it ahead of our clients and bring, we try to work with CES and go, all right, well, these are the trends, but what does that mean for you as our client? So we're talking a lot about AI, and VR, I think I think it has gone mainstream. Like, for me, when the New York Times put 1.2 million Google Cardboard on the front of the newspaper, that's pretty mainstream to me. But I think it still hasn't quite shaken loose and got into, more and more clients' sort of vocabulary of like when we're thinking of work.
Staying with this, now, who is your competition, Matt? 5 years ago you could name them. Now you know where they exist. And
I mean,
who is your competition?
The challenge now is that our competition is so much broader than it ever was. It used to be you were competing against other advertising agencies. Right. Now I think it's so much broader. You're competing against media partners. So any of the media companies. You're competing against any of the technology companies. Facebook, Google, Instagram. They're all building internal agencies. And I also think, it's weird, I did a presentation about a week ago where I said that our biggest competition is almost our clients.
Right.
Clients themselves are building internal agencies like never before, not to handle everything, but to handle big aspects of it, particularly around content. So, we have to be competitive in that nature. And then there's a whole swathe of new players coming in. Well, not new, they've been around, but your Accentures and Deloittes and, they're all rampantly buying up agency services around the world. So, I think it's a more competitive marketplace, but I think that's when brands really stand up and it's important. We're very lucky in that we have a brand like JWT Thompson behind us that's been around for 150 years. So we're not a new kid on the block. We know our way around. We just have to keep evolving and adapting. But it's definitely you have to look much broader than what the agency next door is doing. That's for sure.
Matt, sort of. You've spoken about about talent being a commodity and the importance of passion. So is that going to be a differentiator in the way, for example, JWT deals with things and perhaps one of these competitors?
Yeah, definitely. Look, for me, I think what I've realized, particularly as I travel the world and meet different people, I think to sort of claim that any one company has a monopoly on great talent is just ridiculous. But I think what we can have is we can have a passion beyond reason, beyond the other companies.
How will the client see that?
Look, I think it's interesting. I've got a creative director who works for me in New York, and the thing about he is so incredibly passionate. He's incredibly talented as well, but he's so passionate, and that's the thing that clients comment to me most about, is that, you know, he's always coming to them with new ideas. He's always interpreting what happens at a festival on their behalf, etc. So I think beyond the talent, it really is the passion, I think, that differentiates, and that's the big thing that I've tried to instill into the network, is that, you know, we have incredibly talented people, but, you know, we need to be passionate where others fall down, where others give up, where others walk away, and I think that's how we're going to make a big difference, and we've been doing that. So.
You know, getting to a difficult part for all global CCOs, which is the hunt for the gold. Yeah? So, yeah. You know, that times I was talking to you earlier, saying maybe it's a good idea for agencies to take a 2-year holiday away from awards. You know, how do you react to that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it'd be fabulous to have a holiday, but at the same time, I mean, what I think it does is for me, I use it as a way to constantly push the network forward, and I think it's nice to have these sort of, particularly, you know, Cannes is the big one internationally, but to have that sort of annual moment where, you know, you really sort of have to rally together to, you know, have the new work that you want to enter into Cannes. You know, I try not to be obsessed by awards, but I definitely am aware that the impact that they can have on the culture. You know, I think when last we spoke was just over 2 years ago, and, you know, I remember that year we won 19 Lions at Cannes, which was, to me, unacceptable for a global network. And then last year we won 80 Lions at Cannes, which is the highest that we'd ever achieved. And I think the awards are fantastic, and I love doing that. But actually, the impact that had on the network was just phenomenal. You know, I said to everyone when I first started, I want us to be recognised for our creativity. But what I really want is all of our people just to walk a couple of inches taller in their shoes and feel proud and have some swagger of, like, we work for one of the most creative networks in the world.
You know, another area I want to talk to you about, and later we'll talk to Senthil about the same thing, is, you know, you spoke about once where you were aghast that somebody thought of $1 million for a film was a small budget.
Yeah.
You say. But like your competition, as in the, say, digital companies, the social companies and so on, are learning to make films at a fraction of that cost.
Yep.
So how is that going to play out globally?
We're undergoing a huge shift, I think, for the industry. You know, I think for a long time we were in an industry that was happy to pass on production and making to other companies. You know, it was very, very common for agencies to go, well, here's our script, here's our budget, you go away and make it, production company. And I think that won't necessarily go away, but I think the reality is that we have to become better at making as agencies, and we have to bring that back in. We have to enable our people to make their ideas come to reality, and particularly, I think, in the tech space. You know, I think if you can't sit there with a creative technologist and go, all right, can I make, if someone does a tweet, can I make that physical thing react to that? You know, you can't know that stuff. So you have to make it, and you have to experiment, and you have to realize, well, that's not going to work. Maybe we have to change. So I think for us, that is becoming a really important part of who we are, bringing a lot of that back in. And I also think content as such has really changed the sort of the scope of making. You know, I think we will still make, you know, our expensive TV commercials, and you know, the Super Bowl is coming up in a week in the United States, and you know, there's always going to be a need for those big expensive Super Bowl ads, and I can't see the Super Bowl going anywhere. But, you know, now it's about constantly feeding that engine of content that clients need to have the ongoing relationship, and we need to be able to do that without the budgets that you know, we used to have. So I think it's a big change, but again, I think it's an exciting change, because I love the idea of creatives getting their hands dirty and actually kind of making stuff and keeping busy with that, and that's what keeps everyone excited.
We take a short break here. When we come back, we'll have Matt joined by Senthil. We'll get an Indian perspective as the Indian CCO of JWT India gives his perspective on all that we've been talking about.